plugged in, I think my definition should be just like, you're not in control of your own life. There's a recipe that society sets out for you, and you just fall into that recipe. So in North America, it's usually like, you're born, you maybe go to kindergarten, do your K through 12, you go to college, you get the corporate job, you work your way up the corporate ladder, and you really sell yourself away to fit into systems and structures built by people who are unplugged. And now that I'm going through the unplugging process, I've been in it for a few years. I'm starting to notice that too, and I go on Rich Cooper shows, Entrepreneurs in Cars, and people in the comments like, bro, you're a psychopath, because I'll say, okay, well, I need someone to do this in my life, or there's a space I built for someone in my life, and then people step into that. Well, those people are plugging into my frame, is what they call it in the space. So unplugging is really understanding, okay, in what ways do I not have control over my own life? Where, for example, a good one is people that have jobs. I met a guy in San Diego a couple of weeks ago at the dog park. He's like, bro, you live in Mexico. That'd be super cool. I'd love to do that. It's like, well, we'll do it. Here's how you do it. I can go ahead and get you on a coaching call. We'll put together a plan. Like, it's really not as difficult as it seems once you get it outlined on paper. And this guy, I could hear from his self-talk, which he was putting out to me, was, oh, I have a really good job, and I don't know, and like I need to be in the office, and I don't know if I can get another job. And he has been beaten into the cultural framework to where, okay, he will never truly live the life that he envisions that he would love. Not to say he's unhappy. I mean, San Diego's a pretty cool city. You know, he had a cute girlfriend, had a couple of dogs, has a good social circle. But the way his face lit up when he told me, oh man, I would love to do that. I'm like, well, then do it. And then you could hear him talking himself out of it. Well, I don't know, because I got the dogs, and you know, I got the mortgage, and it's kind of cool here. I kind of have everything I need. So that guy's plugged in. Unplugging, I got pretty extreme. In terms of, it started off like more the dating thing. So I got caught up in a green card marriage like 7-8 years ago. Same thing followed. Right. Well, I'm in my mid-20s now. At that time, I had a successful business, and it's time to start settling down. Go out to the country, get a house, the white picket fence, the 2 cars in the garage, 2 kids, maybe a dog or 2, beautiful wife, and we're going to live happily ever after. So I followed that cultural narrative. And obviously, I can tell you've been following some content in the space. That doesn't work anymore. That is an outdated model. And and when you're a modern person trying to plug yourself into non-modern solutions, you're going to have a bad time. So at that point is when I started unplugging. But it took me, same thing. I was plugged in. It took me a while. It took me 1.5 years to file for divorce when I already knew the chick was cheating on me, because I thought, well, I'll go to couples therapy. Well, sure enough, it wasn't couples therapy. She didn't go. I went. It was always, it was never a we problem. It was always a me problem. And then starting that journey, I realized, okay, you start to see things for the way they are. Part of a lot of the content that I do is really, I tell people, it's not that difficult. Just, you have 2 eyes and you have a brain. Connect your eyes to your brain. So if you can look out in reality and see something in front of your eyes, and everyone's telling you, no, it's not that way, trust yourself. Lean into your own intuition. Because these people are plugged in. You'll know in the space they use a lot of the Matrix type metaphors, like in terms of Neo unplugging from the Matrix. I think that's an appropriate metaphor. I know a lot of guys get too into it, or they trade one dogma for another. So you have to be careful when you're getting into those types of pockets of content on the internet. But for me, it was really just leaning into my own self-truth. Again, in conjunction with the spiritual work, I got into really good physical shape. Stopped drinking, started getting my dating life under control, started getting my financial life was never not out of control, but I made some stupid business decisions and lost everything in my late 20s. So had to start over. And really the big key for me was just going back into who I was when I was a kid, the kid in my former garage, just tinkering around, journaling, writing music, doing my little caricatures, building guitars and restoring old stereo systems. And on the financial side, I realized, I grew up in a family where you don't do debt. If you don't have cash, you can't afford it. So I built that as one of my highest principles. Now I don't carry debt. Nice. Well, guess what? When you don't have debt, you're not beholden to anyone. So I do corporate consulting now, but if a contract ends early, or someone's like, hey, the way you said something to Amanda and it didn't make her feel good, so now we have to let you go, my world doesn't shatter anymore. I'm like, oh, that's stupid. And then I laugh at it. And then I have, especially with my channel, I'll have guys in the comments that'd be like, well, I can't believe you think these things, and I'm gonna find your employer or clients, and I'm gonna get you fired. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, where do you think these guys find me? They see me on these shows and like, oh, this guy knows what the hell is going on, and they hire me. Like, but again, going back to like plugged in versus unplugged, I do have empathy for these guys, but now it's at the point where I've been in my journey for 7 or 8 years now, to where it's kind of annoying when I interact with normal plugged in people. I don't, for lack of a better term, it's quite annoying just listening the way people talk about themselves, especially. And I had a buddy years ago say this to me. We were out doing something, and I was, we're catching up, and he told me at one point, he's like, bro, he's like, seriously, you got to stop. He's like, if you talk to me the way you talk about yourself, I would punch you in your face and never be your friend again. I'm just like, oh wow. And that kind of slaps you to reality. Like, oh yeah, a lot of people don't like themselves. And I think that's a key issue that keeps them to being plugged in, because again, they're living for someone else or something else that's defined by someone else, and not always defined for the best purposes. The people, the way they get into politics or their sports teams or whatever it is, whatever Ister-ism du jour seems to be trending, people get really into. It's like, I'm this ist now, or I follow this ism. And that's their highest belief, and you can tell them like, hey, you realize that's a bunch of bullshit, right? And they get no, we got to cancel you. You're like, okay, these are physical beings that don't realize that they have spiritual energy, and they're dead. They're dead inside.